They found a quiet sanctuary in the room, away from the nursery door. The air grew thick with a low, burning heat. Luca's fingers began their slow, deliberate journey across her skin, tracing the map of her body like they were reading Braille, the blind alphabet of memory. He sought not only the Amelia he remembered, but the new landscape of her postpartum body, honoring every curve and stretch mark as a testament to the miracle she had performed. There was no rush, only a tender, almost reverent exploration. It was a communion of two souls confirming their unity before the next forced separation. Exhaustion claimed them both afterward. They fell into a deep, sated sleep, only to be jolted awake minutes later by the familiar demanding cry of their daughter. They both reached for her simultaneously, their hands bumping in a moment of sweet, reflexive chaos. Luca won the gentle tussle, scooping up Livia. Amelia stood in the corner, leaning against the cool wall, watching. He changed the diaper with practiced ease, his movements fluid and tender. In that simple domestic tableau, a fresh wave of doubt washed over her. Can I really do this alone? The thought of moving across the ocean to a life built entirely around his work and their family felt suddenly less like surrender and more like salvation. They spent the evening as a devoted unit, the final hours of their 3-month sabbatical stretching out like pulled taffy. They fed Livia, bathed her in the small plastic tub, and marveled at the new sound she made. Once she was finally asleep, Amelia and Luca curled up on the sofa, watching The Notebook, a quiet, sentimental ritual. Amelia rested her head on his chest, listening to the steady, comforting beat of his heart, the metronome that kept her own life in time. This was the last uninterrupted night she would have for a while. The morning arrived, and Luca, true to his nature, rose early while Amelia was still asleep. He gave Livia her bath. The water warmed to a perfect temperature and fed her, ensuring she was clean and contented. He tidied the room, erasing the minor chaos of the previous night, then made a home-style Italian breakfast, fresh espresso, toasted pan with butter, and a scattering of fresh berries. He carried the tray into the bedroom and set it down. Amelia woke to the scent of dark roast and warm bread. Luca sat beside her, kissing her slowly and tenderly. She looked at him, and the tears came, an immediate, unbidden flow down her cheeks. The reality of the separation was a cold hand gripping her heart. Luca bent to kiss her tears away. "Babe, I don't want you to cry. You know I will be like I haven't left. FaceTime, Zoom, you name it, I will be here. You are never alone." They sat, trying to savor every second, pretending that the gentle sounds of Livia's coos could somehow stop the rotation of the earth. But time was not theirs to keep. The Uber notification on Luca's phone shattered the bubble. "Your ride has arrived." The tight hug that followed was a desperate measure to fuse their two bodies. He stood and walked to the bassinet, holding his daughter tightly, kissing her small, sweet head. "Cuore mio, amore mio," he whispered in Italian. "My heart, my love, I will see you soon, darling." He gently gave Livia back to Amelia and walked outside. Amelia and Livia watched from the window as the black car pulled away, the sight of his retreating figure a familiar, painful echo of the past. Amelia's tears flowed freely, while Livia, nestled in her arms, smiled and played, blissfully unaware of the geographic tyranny that ruled her parents' lives. Luca arrived at Dulles Airport, the atmosphere a stark contrast to his triumphant arrival 3 months prior. This time, the flight back to Italy was a heavy, joyless passage. His heart and his focus were left entirely in Washington, D.C. He settled into his seat, ignoring the menu and the flight attendant. He pulled out his laptop, not for work, but for a new, personal research project, how a European medical professional could practice medicine in the United States. He plunged into the complex, multi-layered regulatory environment, his fingers typing furiously. Fact: the path to practicing medicine in the US for foreign graduates. For a doctor like Luca, a graduate of an accredited European medical school, the process to practice in the United States involves several key challenging hurdles. ECFMG certification. He must first receive certification from the Educational Commission for Foreign Medical Graduates, ECFMG. This requires passing the rigorous United States Medical Licensing Examination, USMLE, Steps 1, 2 Clinical Knowledge, CK, and 2 Clinical Skills, CS. Residency. Even as an established cardiologist, he would likely need to enter the National Resident Matching Program, NRMP, to secure a US-based residency or fellowship position. For a specialist like him, this would mean applying for a cardiology fellowship or an internal medicine residency spot, depending on the state and hospital requirements. Securing one of these positions is highly competitive. Visa sponsorship. As an Italian citizen, he would require visa sponsorship, typically a J1 or H1B visa, which is tied directly to his residency or fellowship program. State licensing. After completing his residency fellowship, he would then apply for specific medical licensure in the state of practice, in this case Virginia/DC area, which involves background checks and further fees. Luca scrolled through the requirements, the bureaucratic labyrinth daunting. It was both possible and impossible at the same time. The path required a monumental sacrifice, years of his life, a pay cut, and the grueling process of recertification, all for the singular goal of being permanently close to his family. He stared at the bright, cold screen, the cabin lights dimming around him. The drone of the engines became a lullaby. He fell asleep with his head on the tray table, the complex medical statutes floating in his mind, his last conscious thought, a silent vow to his daughter. I will fix this distance. I will come home to stay. For the past year, the Atlantic had been a revolving door, with Luca crossing back and forth, unwilling to subject his newborn daughter to a long-haul flight before she was strong. Now, Livia had turned 1, and with Amelia's summer break stretching ahead, the transit was finally, gloriously moving east. 2 days before their arrival, Luca's sister, Sophia, drove from Milan to Tuscany. The plan was not just a reunion, but a celebration, Livia's baptism or christening, known as battesimo in Italian. Since Amelia was not Catholic, Luca, with Sophia's efficient, loving help, was the architect of the event. They had chosen the location with deep, intentional love. Luca's grandmother's historic farm and house, nestled on a rolling hill in the heart of the Tuscan countryside. The old stone walls, warmed by generations of sunlight, and the vista of cypress trees piercing the blue sky, would perfectly frame Livia's welcome into the family and the world. Sophia checked the antique clock on the mantelpiece, its soft tick a counterpoint to their hurried movements. She looked at Luca, who was securing a final garland of ivy over a stone archway. Luca, I think you should start to head to the airport now. With the Friday traffic in Florence, you don't want Livia to arrive and you are not there. Luca agreed, a surge of adrenaline pushing him toward his car. The drive was a familiar pilgrimage, one he'd made countless times, but this time every detail was magnified by the promise of their reunion. He accelerated down the long gravel driveway, the sound of the tires crunching soft as applause. The air was a thick, intoxicating blend of the Italian countryside, the peppery dust from the road, the resinous scent of the cypress trees, and the dry, sun-baked earth that defines Tuscan summer. As he drove through the winding lanes, the vista was a masterwork of light and shadow, fields of golden wheat rippled like velvet, punctuated by the silent, majestic watchfulness of the cypresses. The smell of wild rosemary and heat wafted through his open window, cleansing his mind of the hospital anxieties and bureaucratic nightmares. He tasted the anticipation, a sharp, sweet, metallic tang at the back of his throat. He passed small clusters of old farmhouses, their terracotta roofs glowing like embers, each turn of the road bringing him closer to the end of his self-imposed separation. He arrived at the airport just as the flight gates opened. He spotted them immediately. Amelia, looking slightly weary but radiant, carrying Livia on her back in a brightly patterned carrier, simultaneously pushing a luggage cart piled high with American comforts. Luca ran. He didn't just walk, he sprinted, shedding the distance between them. His hug was a desperate, tightening grip, a mute testament to a year of missed days. He kissed her, a long, slow, public declaration of arrival, before taking over the luggage. He guided them to the car, settling Amelia into the front seat. "I was worried this car seat I bought was too big," he confessed, his hands hovering over Livia, now safely buckled in the back. "But it fits her perfectly." As Luca drove, turning off the main highway and onto progressively smaller, more winding roads, Amelia looked around, a gentle confusion creasing her brow. This ancient, undulating landscape had never appeared on their FaceTime calls. Luca sensed it, the silence speaking volumes. "Bella, we are going to the farmhouse. Sophia and I decided Livia's celebration tomorrow should be here, at the same place where my own baptism took place. It is the heart of the family." Amelia's smile was immediate, luminous. She reached for his hand. He kept one hand firmly on the wheel, the other holding hers so tight their palms became one. Their connection was a perfect loop of electricity, a tender thread woven through the fabric of their return. They arrived to the site of the old stone house, bathed in the golden, late afternoon light. Sophia emerged, her dark hair pulled back, her welcome immediate and warm. She and Amelia embraced, not as in-laws, but as women who shared a deep, protective love for the same man. Sophia laughed, pulling back. "Do you remember that train ride in South Africa? The Rovo's rail?" Amelia laughed harder. "I had to run away from your brother because I thought you were his wife." Sophia, shaking her head and looking playfully at Luca, joked, "I don't know what you see in that man, but girl, he is not my type." The shared laughter was a gentle ceremony, welcoming Amelia into the family's inner circle. Sophia showed Amelia to a quiet, sun-dappled room to clean up. When Amelia returned, she found Luca and Sophia already with Livia. "I thought you guys were talking, so I wanted to give Livia a bath and feed her. I know she is tired." Sophia and Amelia exchanged a look, a silent, shared acknowledgement of the profound, almost comical pride Luca held for their daughter. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, the cousins, aunts, and friends began to gather outside. The family dinner was a symphony of Italian celebration. The air was alive with the deep, melodic rumble of multiple conversations overlaid with sudden, bright bursts of laughter. There was the constant, comforting clinking of heavy wine glasses, the rich aroma of garlic and aged pecorino cheese, and the bright, earthy scent of Chianti being poured freely. Above them the sky deepened to a shade of black velvet, studded with a billion fierce, brilliant stars. Luca held Amelia close, his arm a strong perimeter around her waist. Sophia, playful and sharp-eyed, called out, "Who ever thought Luca would become this Luca?" The family roared with laughter. One cousin leaned toward Amelia. "You are the luckiest one, Bella. This one here." Luca, sensing the imminent spillage of embarrassing childhood stories, jumped in. "Shh! Let my woman enjoy the beautiful stars under the sky of Tuscany. This is not a confession booth." They all laughed, the sound warm and communal, continuing to savor the rich, familial moment. After a few hours, Luca saw the subtle slump in Amelia's posture, the final wave of transatlantic exhaustion claiming her. "Guys, I have to take my lady to bed," he announced. "I'll see you tomorrow." They were cheered and waved off with knowing smiles. As soon as they entered the bedroom, the world narrowed to the two of them. Luca, slow and tender, undressed Amelia, honoring the body that had birthed his child. Their lovemaking was a long, slow conversation, each touch, each breath, a silent syllable that connected the deepest parts of their souls, erasing the year of separation. The familiar fire returned, but this time it was deeper, rooted in the shared life they had built. Afterward, Luca lay beside her, looking down with a profound, almost prophetic smile. "I think we just made a son, Amelia. I feel it." Amelia laughed, then grabbed her phone, opening her period tracker app. She looked at the colorful screen, then up at Luca, whose smile only widened. He was right. That day was the prime moment for conception. The next morning, the family gathered, dressed in their Sunday best. The women in elegant dresses, the men in dark suits, their clothes a respectful counterpoint to the ancient stone of the country church. Catholic baptism is a sacrament of purification and welcome, and Amelia watched with deep emotion as Livia, swaddled in a white lace garment, was presented at the font. The priest, speaking in clear, sonorous Italian, poured the holy water over Livia's forehead, anointing her with the oil of chrism, formally introducing her to the community of the faithful. Luca and his sister stood as Livia's godparents, making their vows to guide her spiritual life. The moment was one of transcendent beauty, a profound rooting of Livia into the very soil and spirit of her Italian heritage. After the ceremony, they returned to the farm for a feast of traditional Tuscan dishes, wine, and dancing. Later that afternoon, Sofia took Livia and her own children to visit a nearby friend, creating a silent, perfect window of opportunity. Luca gently took Amelia's hand and led her outside for a quiet picnic near a small crystalline stream sheltered by weeping willows. "I love this stream of water," Luca told her, his voice low and intimate. "I've been coming here since I was a boy. Whether I was happy or sad, this is the place where my tears and my smiles fell. It is my best place." Amelia tenderly pushed him down onto the soft mossy bank, her eyes full of fire and promise. She undressed the bottom half of his body and leaned in, whispering into his ear, "And this place is where you will plant the seed for your son." Once more they came together, this time under the watchful, silent canopy of the trees, by the running water that has witnessed generations of Luca's family. A while later they walked back, finding Sofia already in the house. "Lovebirds," Sofia called out with a warm, knowing look. "Amelia, I guess he took you to the water streams." Amelia, her face flushed with love and wine, played along. "Oh, so is this where he takes all of his women?" Sofia laughed and looked at Luca. "No, Bella. This is where he used to cry when he missed our mother." Amelia's playful smile vanished. She looked at Luca, her eyes instantly filling with empathy, and hugged him tight. Sofia quickly coughed. Hey, you two, get a room. I only left for 2 hours." Luca broke the hug, his voice calm and practical. "And speaking of rooms, let's go to sleep. Tomorrow we have to drive to the town. I have surgery in the morning. I need to prepare my mind." He hugged his sister again and walked to the bedroom. They looked at their daughter, sleeping soundly, a beautiful, peaceful breath in the room. They tiptoed to the bathroom and took a shower together, a quick, shared moment of warmth before he held her close, cradling her against him as they fell into a deep, dream-filled sleep. The last day of summer arrived sooner than they planned. The mood, after the fire of the stream and the warm glow of the family gathering, began a slow, inevitable descent. The final, harsh truth of their separation was now a mere handful of hours away, cooling the farmhouse with its heavy presence. Luca, unable to rest, began the quiet, meticulous process of packing the new Italian clothes and small wooden toys for Livia. He handled the tiny garments with a profound, heartbreaking tenderness. Each item he placed into the suitcase was a small, weighted admission of distance. He found Amelia in the kitchen, the light dim, preparing a simple, late-night snack before bed. The warm, comforting scent of steamed milk and cinnamon hung in the air, a futile attempt to comfort the underlying anxiety. He walked up silently and wrapped his arms around her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder, his lips trailing soft kisses on her neck. Amelia instinctively turned off the stove, the sudden quiet filling the space. She leaned back into his embrace, then twisted in his arms to face him, immediately sensing the gravity that had settled on him. She jumped onto him, wrapping her legs around his waist, holding him with a fierce urgency, their kiss a desperate plea against the ticking clock. "Are you okay, Bello?" she whispered into his ear, her voice thick with shared sorrow. "I am not," Luca replied, his voice a low, raw rumble against her collarbone. "I want you here. I want to wake up with my daughter and my woman in this house, in my country. I cannot pretend I am happy, Amelia." Amelia tightened her hug, inhaling the familiar, clean scent of his skin. "I know, babe. I feel the same crushing weight." She pulled back slightly, her gaze earnest. "Why don't you move here? You can teach English, Bella. The need is huge, and your expertise is top tier." Amelia kissed him tenderly, acknowledging the lifeline he offered. "I don't speak Italian, Luca. Not enough to navigate a life. I am learning so hard, I promise. As soon as I can communicate, that will be my next move." She traced the line of his jaw. "If it was easy to practice medicine in America, you would not have to ask me. With my broken English and Italian accent, I would already be there waiting for you, doing whatever job I could get." The reference to his earlier failed research into practicing medicine in the US hung between them, a flash of the impassable mountain he was trying to climb for their family. Luca didn't continue the conversation. A quiet sadness moved with him as he walked to the living room, seeking the simple, unadulterated comfort of Livia, now awake and playing with her soft blocks. He picked her up and began to play, his heart fractured between his two loves. Amelia was left alone in the kitchen, the warmth from the stove fading. She stood there, the reality of the move hitting her with cold clarity. What if she moves here? The truth of her hesitation was not entirely the language barrier. Luca had never asked her to marry him. She couldn't uproot her entire life, her career, and her language without knowing what the next formal step in their relationship would be. She paused, then reflected on the sheer, selfless goodness of Luca, the transatlantic flights, the profound care he showed to his daughter. She walked slowly into the living room and hugged him from behind, wrapping her arms around both him and Livia. "Baby," she whispered, her voice infused with new resolve. "I will let me go and figure out how to apply for teaching positions in the universities here for next year. I will study my Italian like it's my thesis. I want us to be a family, a real one, Luca." He leaned back into her, pulling her arms tighter around him, Livia giggling between them, an innocent buffer to their pain. It was a hug he wanted to last forever, a final fierce protest against the separation. "Tomorrow morning, amore," he said, his voice husky with love and acceptance. "Tomorrow we fly." Back in Washington, D.C., life became a relentless loop of teaching, grading, and the demanding needs of a 1-year-old. The long, beautiful summer in Tuscany felt like a dream. Amelia was constantly moving. The classroom, the daycare run, the grocery store. She was so focused on managing the logistics that she failed to listen to the quiet rebellion of her own body. 2 months slipped by before the subtle signs became impossible to ignore. Monday morning, after dropping Livia at daycare, Amelia rushed toward her favorite coffee shop. She was a true city dweller, used to eating while walking, a deliberate defiance of sitting down when time was a luxury. As she hurried down the sidewalk, savoring the familiar taste of her coffee and banana bread, a sudden, violent wave of nausea hit her. She tried to swallow it down, but the urge was overwhelming. She barely made it to the nearest public trash can, emptying her stomach with a painful heave. Afterward, she rinsed her mouth with water from her silver bottle, discarded the untouched coffee and bread, and blamed the sudden illness on walking too fast. She managed to teach her classes, though she felt ill and distracted. On the way home, outside the metro station, the nausea returned, forcing a second, more humbling stop. Back in the quiet sanctuary of her house, she opened her period tracker app. Her eyes widened. The date was unequivocally missed. A primal certainty took hold. She drove straight to the nearest drugstore and bought 5 different pregnancy tests. Rushing home, she took the first one. She didn't believe it. She took a second, a third, until she had used all 5. The positive lines stared back, bold and undeniable. A chaotic mix of joy and terror washed over her. She was having Luca's child, but the Atlantic still separated them. She immediately called Luca. Luca picked up the phone while walking out of the operating room. He was still wearing his blue scrubs, his face mask dangling below his chin, looking every bit the exhausted but successful cardiac surgeon. The surgery had lasted 8 brutal hours. "Pronto?" "Darling, how are you?" he answered, his voice low and tired. Amelia's voice was quiet, almost a whisper, yet it held the weight of their future. "Babe, I think I am pregnant." Luca stopped dead in the middle of the crowded corridor. "What?" "Yes," she said, managing a shaky laugh. "Since I came back, I've been so busy I didn't realize I missed my period. This morning I vomited twice. I took 5 tests. They all agree." Luca's weariness instantly dissolved, replaced by a surge of ecstatic energy. His spirit wanted to transcend the ocean, to be there to hug her, to kiss her belly, to kneel before her. The Atlantic Ocean, the perpetual transit barrier, was now the cruelest presence in their relationship. He started panicking. "Darling, are you okay? Do you need anything? Do you want me to come right now?" Amelia laughed, grounding him. "Babe, I am okay. Just pregnant, not sick. We will be fine." He couldn't contain himself. He spun around, announcing to the passing nurses and doctors, "I am going to be a father again." Amelia smiled into the phone. "Babe, I have to go. I need to pick up Livia from daycare." Luca called his sister Sophia to share the impossible, wonderful news. The time that followed moved like sand through an hourglass, filled with Amelia's increasing fatigue and Luca's relentless schedule of complex surgery and long work hours. At 6 months pregnant, Amelia felt a sharp, sudden pain one evening after work, just outside the metro station near Chinatown. She stopped and felt a distressing warmth. She quickly found a nearby restroom and was horrified to discover she was bleeding. She immediately called her doctor, who told her to go to the hospital emergency room, and then called Luca. They spoke the entire drive to the hospital, his voice a low, steady anchor of professional calm, guiding her until he could speak directly to the doctor handling her case. She was lucky. It was a scare, not a miscarriage. The bleeding was due to a minor tear, and the baby was safe. As soon as he hung up, Luca was already moving. He rushed to the Florence airport, trying to book the first flight. He could only secure an economy seat on a flight to New York that was about to board. He didn't hesitate. He took the ticket and 7 hours later landed in New York, instantly catching a connecting domestic flight to DC. His phone remained off for hours during the transatlantic flight. Amelia spent a long, anxious night in the hospital, trying to reach him, assuming he was in surgery or busy. By morning, she was feeling much better. Livia was safe with Amelia's mother, allowing her to focus on healing. At around 10 a.m., she heard a quiet knock on her hospital room door. She walked slowly and opened it. She stood frozen for a beat, then collapsed into Luca's tight embrace. He was unshaven, exhausted, and wearing the same clothes he'd rushed out in, but he was there. After the embrace, they talked, softly, privately, reclaiming the intimacy that distance had stolen. Luca took a quick shower in the hospital room, returning to a breakfast tray Amelia had ordered. "No, babe, I don't want you to lift a finger," he insisted, though he devoured the food. "Sweetie, I am not sick," she reassured him. "It was just a little blood. All the checkups were good. Our son is fine. I am okay. Don't worry." After they ate, they took a taxi to Amelia's mother's house to pick up Livia. Her mother was shocked to see Luca. "I didn't know you were coming," she exclaimed. "I didn't either," Luca replied, hugging her mother. "She called me, bleeding. I wanted to be here for my son, for her. I couldn't sleep if I didn't come." Her mother hugged him and sighed. "Well, since you're here, here is your daughter. I was about to take her to daycare." Luca laughed, taking Livia. "She is not going to daycare. Papa is here." 3 days later, the unavoidable separation returned. By 5 p.m., Luca had to leave for the airport. While Livia was taking her afternoon nap, Luca began massaging Amelia's feet, his touch slow and restorative. "Babe, I can't do this anymore," he murmured, his hands working magic on her tired ankles. "I talked to your doctor. I explained the situation and my professional opinion. He agreed with me. You need to be on bed rest for 3 months. No more teaching, no more stress." He looked up at her, his eyes earnest. "So for these next 3 months, I want to take care of you. I want you to be with me." Amelia was tired of fighting. She was tired of the distance and the anxiety. She wanted the authority of his presence. "Okay, I will stay home," she softly uttered, surrendering the last vestiges of her independent resolve. "Okay, then you and Livia will come to Italy," he continued. "I can buy you first-class tickets, so you will be comfortable and fine." Amelia lifted his chin, forcing him to meet her gaze. "Darling, business is okay, but you have 2 children and a wife who is temporarily without a job. You have to be careful with your money." They both laughed, sharing an intimate embrace. He bought their first-class tickets for the very next day. He packed his bag and left while Livia was still sleeping, kissing her small, perfect head and avoiding the heartbreaking sound of her cry. Her new habit was clinging to her father wherever he went. Just like a flicker, Amelia and Livia arrived at the Florence airport the next day. They were ready to start their new, unified life in Italy. Luca had arranged for his best friend and colleague, who attended medical school with him, to cover his demanding surgeries, ensuring he could be present.